Dana White, the president of the UFC, knows how to make a headline. It could be from him slapping his own wife multiple times at a club in Cabo San Lucas, Mexico on New Year's Eve, him kissing the rear end of fascists while simultaneously saying he is, quote, not a political person. He spoke at the RNC not once, but twice for pro-insurrectionist President Donald Trump.
He's this old guy who is clearly like a control freak. And I'm the only one that's able to get under his skin.
Although it was a funny Halloween outfit you posted.
Yeah, the Coke like smeared across my face in the Coke bag. Because, I mean, everyone knows about Dana's Coke issue.
Trades barbs with Jake Paul, who, for all his nonsense, has stuck up for the fighters demanding health care and higher pay, a point White hates addressing.
What would you put the number at if it's not 8%?
Our numbers line up with sports our size.
Why are you not giving me a number?
Has been here for 16 years.
No, but
because what I won't do is give you an inaccurate number.
Right, but you said Lorenzo put a number.
So
what number did he put?
Do your homework. You're a friggin' reporter.
Okay, so
do your homework. Hey, if you're going to ask me that question, do your homework. The numbers were never my thing.
Except they are.
All right, gang. The attendance was 17,559, sold out. The gate was 5.12 million.
Yet on the topic of fighter pay, White remains defiant in downplaying what his roster deserves and lashes out at Francis Ngannou, leaving to make more.
Is the problem, though, when you have such an imbalance of power, when you've got the funds being created by the people in the system who are physically courageous and powerful, but in this instance are powerless. There's a danger to this kind of dictatorship. I don't know that the audience cares, though, as long as they get their pound of meat every time UFC is showing fights.
Bloody Elbow, which has gone fully independent on Substack, check them out, reported on Endeavor's financial statements. According to their 8K, the UFC generated $1.140 billion with a B in revenue dollars last year. This is the highest revenue the UFC has ever reported for a year, via the outlet's Josh S. Nash. In looking at the profits of the UFC, their net income are even more impressive, growing from $119 million in 2015 to $177 million in 2020 to $272 million in 2021 and reaching $387 million in 2022, a margin of 34%. In other words, for every dollar they see in revenue, roughly a third of it will end up as profit. Craig Peckios of Low Kick MMA would add more. While all that sounds very impressive, the UFC also helped to bolster their numbers by cutting production costs, specifically athlete costs. Between 21 and 22, the promotion saved an estimated $32.8 million in fighter pay, a number that is sure to make even the most loyal of Dana's followers ask a few questions. For context, Craig Dundas wrote, so if the UFC really wanted to make Bones, Jones, and Ngannou, it could have paid them each $15 million and still save money over 2021, but somehow the fighters were to blame for asking for too much. Now let me be clear about this. From the writers on strike to Amazon and Starbucks workers unionizing and the union-busting efforts of the mega corporation, there is a common theme here. The rich just don't want to squeeze out the little guy across various industries. They want to do so and remain and even get richer than they are. This is where each and every industry is. Squeeze pennies, tick off the workers, revoke their rights, treat them like nothing, get away with paying them as low a salary as possible, and the ones at the top then create that salary / those salaries that they did not want to support and make it their own. More from Dundas. If the UFC really saved $32.8 million in fighter pay during 2022, that means the company could have paid each of the 600 fighters on its roster about $55,000 more last year and still basically come out even compared to 2021. Instead, they just kept the money. Last year, White said, a change in fighter pay is never going to happen while I'm here. Blah, blah, blah. Believe me, these guys get paid what they're supposed to get paid. They eat what they kill. They get a percentage of the pay-per-view buys, and the money is spread out amongst all the fighters, while in the same breath, he gifted right-wing sports podcaster Kyle Forgard $250,000 just because spread out amongst all the fighters is a bit of a stretch, considering the UFC traditionally has a revenue share that falls just shy of 20%. Actually, it's way less. In comparison, every other major sports organization, the NBA, Major League Baseball, National Hockey League, have a rev share with athletes that linger just below or above 50%. That is true. With the promotion's recent increase in revenue, matched with its reduction in athlete costs, their revenue share for 2022 drops even further to an embarrassingly low 13 to 15%. Let me make this clear to dudes like the Schmo who want to kiss Dana's ass, to other reporters like Brett Okamoto who want to kiss Dana's ass. Can y'all do some serious hard questions here? The UFC is showing you that they are union busting the sport and not allowing the fighters to try to get to any semblance of a fair rate, except for those at the top, but even that's debatable. And yet, y'all just hoot and holler at this man's press conferences when he puts down one of your colleagues or a fighter or Francis Ngannou who sees greener pastures. I understand y'all want to be in with this guy because he can make your life a living hell. See Ariel Helwani. However, grow a freaking spine. Ask this guy serious questions. Via Bloody Elbow. When the UFC-WWE merger was announced, a new $12 billion valuation of the UFC came out, which is 3 times the value of its 2016 sale. That clocked in at a little over $4 billion. The fighters are now receiving significantly less revenue than ever before, and the UFC and Dana White and the Fertittas are raking it in.